It's Monday, April 7th. Happy birthday, Francis Ford Coppola and Jackie Chan. To begin today's episode, the podcast where we discuss the most recent installments of a different series every show, let's discuss Kevin Bacon. It's not his birthday, but he was born in Philadelphia. Born and raised in Philadelphia. Often confused with Ethan Hawke, broke out in Footloose back in what year?
1981?
4. Close. I mean, now he's in a horror sci-fi Amazon Prime series called The Bondsman. The last Bacon stuff I think I've seen is Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special where they kidnap him.
That was 2023, I think.
Was it 2023? I thought 2023.
It might have been 2022.
Yeah, I thought it was earlier. The Following, which was in the mid-2010s. Maxine, he was in that, so he knows horror. And Tremors, goofy horror as well. So
1995, I think it was.
I guess it's all led to this. The last horror show that we reviewed for the show, I think, is Hysteria. And that brings me to what the Bondsman, I think the root of it is, which is old man fights demons. And we've seen it before. Ash vs. the Evil Dead, Bruce Campbell from Hysteria, and also all the Evil Dead series. How old do you think that he was when he started starring in Ash vs. the Evil Dead?
Oh, okay. Well, Ash vs. the Evil Dead came out in like, what?
10 years ago.
10 years ago?
About.
So I would say maybe 60.
He was 56. All right. Stand Against Evil. You remember that show? It was with John C. McKinley, the guy from Scrubs, Dr. Cox. And he's fighting like it's a Canadian series. I think it was on Stan. And he was a sheriff. And then he gets like riled into this whole thing where he's fighting demons as well. And he is doing that with his other colleagues. And how old do you think he was when he starred in that show?
Oh, okay. And how long ago was this?
About 10 years ago.
Okay, so I'm going to guess then like 45.
He was 56. Okay, all right. And so then you have Kevin Bacon right now, and he is fighting demons. He is a bounty hunter, and this is what his new job is. How old do you think Kevin Bacon is?
Well, I'm going to guess 56.
No, he's 66. So he's actually the same age that Bruce Campbell and John C. McKinley would be around right now, you know? So that's cool, I guess, but it's just old man fights demons. You've seen the show before. And now we're reviewing the first episode to this.
We already mentioned some of the inspirations behind this. It was Tremors, Constantine, Ash vs. the Evil Dead, and Deliverance.
Mm-hmm. Constantine, for sure, because chain smoking, demon hunter with an attitude. But that guy's usually younger. Like it was Keanu Reeves when he was younger. I don't know who played him in Lucifer or the short-lived Constantine show. He also works for the devil, right?
Yeah.
So this devil runs a company called Pot of Gold. It reminds me a lot of Cowboy Bebop, the Big Shot ads that would come on TV because those always had a guy.
2 people?
Yes, one of them had a cowboy hat and the other one was some lady. But think of it, Pot of Gold is very leprechaun-y, very Irish. And this takes place in where? It takes place in, I think, Georgia.
Yeah.
And True Blood took place in, do you know where that took? Louisiana. And so I know they're not exactly the same, but they're both in the South. And so it sort of reminded me of that as well.
Well, they did shoot it in Georgia and also just kind of with the...
Well, Georgia's, sorry to interrupt again, but like that's like Hollywood's central. If Walking Dead is done, Georgia,
yeah, no,
it's
I was
like
just about to say,
incentive.
It was the same city as The Walking Dead, also the 2012 film Lawless, which we brought up when we were reviewing Mobland.
Mm-hmm.
The studio, Riverwood Studios, also resides there, which is where they shot the Footloose remake, which I found funny.
And he was in that, right? Like he made a bit appearance. No, it just seems so prime for that opportunity at the time. But that was like 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And the other shows that reminded me less so, but just because they're demon fighting shows, Chainsaw Man, Supernatural, Surreal Estate, Hellstrom. There's a ton of them. And so none of them have Kevin Bacon in it. And so that's what this brings to the table. If you are a big Kevin Bacon fan and you want to see him doing some dumb stuff, this is the show for you.
He was the first name that signed on all the way back in June 2023, and mostly they got him because Blumhouse was already doing a movie with him.
I thought that you were saying that this was written for him because you said it was inspired by Tremors. So why would it not be inspired by the guy who starred in it?
Well, it's not only that. I mean, they had the connection with Kevin Bacon, but then they ended up like kind of adding people, I think, surrounding him just with the surrounding cast.
And I know Maxine is A24, but is Blumhouse anything to do with that as well?
I think they've done some things together, but it's a different studio.
Okay, I thought they were just combined. So the synopsis for this first episode, Pot of Gold, is kind of long for a 35-minute television show. However, it does a good job of setting you up, seeing all the characters, the location, knowing the entire extent extent of like what's about to happen because there's only 7 more episodes afterwards, right? You got Hub, he's a bounty hunter, and he's going after the Earl brothers. One of them, it was either Billy or Clyde, but he's actually set up in a trap here. He goes there to this road motel. He starts sticking bees in the wall to like lure these guys out, and he does that. One of them comes running out, and he's like, "Wait, you're not the guy I'm looking for." And then he gets shot in the back. He falls to the ground, and before he can do anything, we watch our main character die. He gets his throat slit, which I thought was probably the best scene of the entire episode because it did defy my expectations. I was not expecting to
It's
see
like,
that.
yeah, it's within the first 2 minutes, kind of as you said, and the creator talked about how he wanted to put you in the first scene in a state of just pure chaos.
Usually in this type of scene where you have the main character be this uber smart like guy compared to the villains, like because you could tell he had outsmarted them with the bees and everything, that he when he says wait would be able to actually convince them, a Better Call Saul moment where he's going to just maneuver his way out of it. But seeing his throat get slit, then it was, yeah, definitely unexpected. He then finds himself stuck in a wall. He wakes up, and at first you're like, it's impossible that he would have survived that. And we realized that he did die, but that for some reason he's got like a superpower. He's got this mark on his arm. And so he ends up kidnapping this dude who shows up at the motel. It's the next day, and his name is Tater. And Tater was sent there by the Earl brothers to destroy the evidence, to burn down the motel, and to get some insurance money out of it. Hub throws this guy in the back of his truck, or in the back of it's not his car. His mom's car was actually taken by the Earl brothers, and that's a big point of contention for him. That's what he wants to get back. But first, he goes home, and he has this like garage office setup. And then he goes to talk to his mom, who was worried about him because he hadn't come home before. And at this point, his wounds have healed. He was smoking a cigarette as soon as he came back to life,
Wait, but
and you could see the smoke coming out of his throat. Like there was no way that would just, in a course of a few minutes, completely flesh over, but like he's got some supernatural ability and he doesn't know where it's come from. And by the time that he's talking to his mom, she doesn't even notice that there's a problem. The pastor is also there, and apparently his mom had been kicked out of the church by Pastor Ron because Kevin Bacon's character Hub had been arresting people. Apparently, a lot of criminals still go to church, and so he was luring them and then taking them from church straight to the county jail and collecting his reward. And so the deal is that Pastor Ron will accept the mom back to the church if Hub agrees not to do that anymore. And Hub's like, "I'll think about it." And so then
so the pastor just doesn't want to kind of be part of a sting operation.
Sort of, yeah, I guess so. And so Pastor Ron has a very short dialogue there. It's basically just to say he exists because later on he gets possessed. So Hub goes back to his garage office. He's ignoring all these pot of gold calls that he's getting, and we don't know what that's about. And he decides to go to his ex's where she works at this bar, and he's also got a teenage son. And so they're estranged, I think, or something like that. And so he goes there and he finds that her ex is dating this guy named Lucky Callahan. And that Lucky Callahan, he figures out, was the guy who hired the Earl brothers, the ones who killed him in the first scene, to do that.
Did any of the three that you mentioned, because you mentioned Marianne, Lucky, and also
Marianne
Kate,
is, yeah, his wife who sings.
did any of them look familiar to you? Did you recognize
I
any of
wasn't
them?
really looking that hard at them. I guess Lucky Callahan looked a little familiar. Where would I have seen him?
He's Dewey Crow from Justified, also played Charles Manson in Once Upon a Time and Mindhunter.
Oh,
Then Jennifer Nettles, who plays Marianne, is a Grammy Award-winning artist. And then also
he played. Wait. He played the Mindhunter guy. Was also the same one who played the guy in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
yeah, Charles Manson, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
And then Maxwell Jenkins was Will Robinson from Lost in Space. He grew up in a circus family,
Yeah.
and he is also a musician, which helped with his character in the show.
I can see that. That makes me sad because that means Lost in Space will never get another season. However, they did sort of end that third season in a full way, if that makes sense. So yeah, Hub, he runs into Lucky. He's wanting to arrest him, but then Marianne shows up, the teenage son shows up, and they kind of distract Hub from being able to do that. Lucky runs off. He says later on, the son tells him that Lucky has gone to the Earl brothers poker game, but that ends up being a lie as well. However, Hub follows this lead to, and he's still got this guy in the back of his truck. He's still got Tater back
The
there.
whole time?
Yeah, so he drives to Earl's place, and he's going to get his truck back, and he's going to get, I guess, arrest them, and so he figures, though, that it's all a trap when he sees that Lucky isn't there, and he figures that Lucky wouldn't be stupid enough to do this. So then we get a cut to Lucky and Marianne talking back at the bar, and for sure, Lucky has not gone to this poker game. Instead, he's once again hired the Earl brothers to just kill Kevin Bacon when he shows up at the door. So what Hub's character does is he takes the third brother. I guess there's another Earl brother hostage while he's taking a leak. He brings them inside. He starts beating up these guys, tying them up. He's like threatening them and saying like, "Hey, I know what you did. I want my car back. This is how this is going to go." That's when Pastor Ron appears. Now we had seen a quick glimpse of Pastor Ron at night while he was driving to the Earl's place, and we saw he had red glowing eyes. And so we knew he's already been possessed, but this guy is full demon. He starts killing all the Earl brothers just by like mangling their bodies, levitating them, and just like turning them inside out. You know, the
Yeah.
old Ash versus the Evil Dead stuff. Hub isn't like as talented as Ash is at like killing people or demons, and so he just kind
I
of runs
assume
off.
also not as funny either, right?
Yeah, not so far, but he does have a wit to him, you know, and there's a certain sense of humor in this entire show. And so he like hitches a ride back to his mom's place, and so he's there, and that's where he runs into his mom and this lady named Midge, and she's going to be his parole officer. And this is where he learns that he did die, that the devil brought him back because he's going to be working for the devil now, and she's the parole officer that will make sure that he's actually chasing down these demons and killing them. And if he doesn't, then he will be sent right back to hell. And that's where the story leaves off. Again, kind of a long synopsis, and we don't actually see him kill a demon in the first episode, which is sort of a bummer.
I was gonna say that it doesn't seem like there's much demon slaying in the first episode.
But you do get to
which,
see enough of the demon to know that it is a threat to the town. And you just have to wonder, in such a small community, how many people is he going to be able to hunt for the devil? Like, you would think that the devil would hire people in New York or California or somewhere where there's just a huge population of people, and so that you can week by week just do someone new.
It's funny because in R.I.P.D., Kevin Bacon, within the first 10 minutes of that movie, I think kills off Ryan Reynolds. He's the villain in that movie. And then Ryan Reynolds, while he's dead, also is, I think, paired with Jeff Bridges as they try to like hunt monsters. And so it's a very
I never
similar
saw it,
premise.
but that sounds extremely familiar to this.
Yeah, and so but my main question was what's the difference between this and Supernatural? Because I know that you said that it's related to this, like obviously the comparisons are there, but like it seems like it's almost the exact same plot.
Him and Dean, like Dean was pulled out of hell in like season 4. He also got the Mark of Cain, which gave him like super abilities at one point, which is what Kevin Bacon's thing reminds me of, the mark on his hand. I am curious how far like down the road can he continually get like shot in the head and still wake up from that, or like what is his limitation? Is he human again and he's just been granted one life, which doesn't seem very fair. I don't know how closely related power set wise they are. But as far as tone wise, it's a very different show. Like, this is very much Ash versus the Evil Dead versus Supernatural rather than anything. Like, he doesn't have a brother. There's not like a huge heart, I wouldn't think, behind this thing, but I don't know where the Marianne storyline is leading. It just feels more comedy.
The showrunner Eric Olson was also the showrunner for Daredevil season 3 and was set to do season 4. Also did season 2 of Carnival Row. The way that he has described this show, it just seems almost, as we've talked about, they got Kevin Bacon and they were like, you know what, let's just make a fun show. There's not supposed to be anything dramatic about it.
One of my pros is the fourth pro down is someone had fun, you know, just with the creation process. I like that they killed him in the first scene. Like I said, I like that he was creative with the bees. I liked how it moved at a fast clip. Like, they got a lot done. It was succinct. There's no misconstruing what's happening here. The cons are that it's dumb. All the characters tell you where they stand in the first few seconds of their introduction. It's unnecessary as a show, just in general, because we've got corny good and old sci-fis that are out there with cheap budgets that are more creative. Even if you look at like old Buffy episodes, it's got more personality than a show like this. This feels like it's taking from so much other stuff out there, and it doesn't and it's all money based. It's like it's just a cash grab.
So you wouldn't agree with what Bacon said because he said it's crazy, it's funny, it's bloody disgusting.
If
Also,
you're already a fan of these shows and you're looking for something new, then you're gonna like this show. If you're a Kevin Bacon fan, you're probably gonna like this show. If you're looking for something new because it's like changes the genre or improves the genre, that's not what the show is going to do. And also, it's a little confusing why the devil would hire this guy to bring demons back to him unless those like don't the demons already work for the devil?
yeah.
I
So
don't know.
why would they hire him?
I assume they're gonna have someone cast to play the devil. I'd be curious if it's Ethan Hawke. That would be cool.
I can promise you it's not going to be Ethan.
Do you know who it is?
No.
Okay. So we've talked about the cast already. It is fairly small. Probably my favorite character is Hub, just because we've seen him the most. Overall, I'm gonna give it a 5 out of
A
10.
5 out of 10. Wow. Okay, so it
Yeah,
doesn't
but I
pass.
think again, for anybody who already likes this type of show and is just trying to give it is 7 out of 10 for them.
You haven't mentioned a lot about the music for this series, and it seems like a weird thing to point out,
It
but
just feels like money.
Kevin Bacon and Jennifer Nettles, I think one of the main reasons they got her is because they wrote a ton of songs for this series, and apparently they performed them. And what Granger David did, the person who created this show, was he sent Bacon a playlist with Johnny Cash's song "Ain't No Grave," and during pitch meetings, Bacon would play the song while Granger pitched the show, and felt like that was a huge reason why they were able to get it.
Yeah, because I know he is a musician and his wife does sing. I just wasn't really paying attention too much to Marianne's solo when she was in the bar because it was such she. I don't know. I don't buy the relationship between her and the ex. The ex seems like such a sleazy bastard. Like he's works for the Boston mob, and he is a Boston Red Sox fan, and he wears a cowboy hat, even though, like Kevin Bacon says or Hub says, there are people in Georgia don't wear cowboy hats. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's true.
Well, I mean, the thing about Lucky is, and I think Damon Harriman, that's the person who plays him, is used to it. He's even kind of the person that gives Ray and Mr. In-Between his jobs as well, so he's used to playing the villain. I know you said that the first scene was your favorite in the show. It's funny because originally they had to even rework the pilot, and they didn't have that part in the episode. They realized, though, that people probably wanted to see why Hub died, so they ended up actually reshooting that and
Yeah,
put
I
it at
can't
the
even
beginning.
imagine. Did he just wake up in the wall to start the show?
They didn't say, but I think, yeah, he just starts off in either hell or wherever it was.
No, I think maybe they started off with the scene with him and his mom and the pastor, but it doesn't make any sense because later on he's always talking about like I got my throat slit and it's like it's good that they changed it. Anything else?
Well, you said that the CG, you're saying that like it looks just cheap overall
No, I
because
said that you can look at old sci-fi stuff and enjoy that for the cheap budget that it had and for the creativity and the personality that those shows give you, and probably find a lot more heart in making fun of that, knowing that like at the time they barely were able to get it made versus this where it just feels like Amazon Prime is like we can throw another one in the docket and make a ton of cash on some backs of a famous person.
it has a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. The audience score is 75%, 7.3 on IMDb, so it's gotten mixed reviews. The Guardian gave the series 3 out of 5 and said there's also a subplot that is enough to strike true fear in the heart of even the most robust horror fans. So I think that like it was really trying to cash in on the genre
I don't
mashing.
even think they've introduced really the subplot though.
Interesting.
Yeah, because right now we're all about the main plot, which is him being assigned evil people and her saying that if he misses one, he goes back to hell. That feels like quite the assignment. Like it just feels like they're setting him up for failure. If they said you can miss a couple, but really, really try, I mean, that would make more sense. But I guess you are dealing with the devil.
I think Roger Ebert kind of echoes what you said because he said the episodes go down
He came back?
easy. Well, I meant RogerEbert.com. They said the episode goes down easy, but you'll be left wondering whether you sell your soul to get that time back. But my last
I
question.
didn't hate it. I mean, so I guess what's on the dock for next is Lazarus, and that's also the devil, right? So we're doing 2 devil-related shows in a row.
Only difference is that that's going to be on Adult Swim.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Bye.
Bye.